Today, we are diving into the life of one of America's most fascinating and, frankly, most consequential leaders. He was a man who lived by a personal code he called the strenuous life. This is the story of the incredible rise of Theodore Roosevelt.
But to really understand this story, we're not going to start with the man himself. Nope, we're going to start with an idea of almost unbelievable power, all held in the hands of one single person.
I mean, just let that sink in for a second. What if a president was so bold, so utterly fearless, that the most powerful people in the entire country were actually afraid of him? It's a heck of a question, right? And it sets the stage perfectly for the man we're talking about. Yeah, this was a man who didn't just hold the office of president, he was the office. We're talking about a guy who hunted lions, literally charged into battle, and completely changed what it meant to be president, ruling the White House with the kind of power you'd expect from an empire builder.
So how in the world does a person like that even come to be? Well, to understand the man, you've got to go way, way back to the boy. And believe me, it is not the story of a born leader, but of a kid who forged himself into one through pure, unbelievable willpower.
You see, the Theodore Roosevelt we picture, that rugged, larger-than-life figure, he started out as a frail, sickly child. He had these awful, debilitating asthma attacks and was often just too weak to go outside and play. Doctors basically told his family he'd be limited by his poor health for his entire life.
And this is where the story gets really incredible. That sickly kid just refused to accept his fate. He decided to fight back. Through grueling, intense exercise and just an ironclad discipline, he literally built himself a new body. He turned that weakness into an incredible strength. And that personal battle, it basically became the blueprint for his entire life.
And once he had that strength, man, he just took off like a rocket. He jumped into politics super young, getting a reputation as this guy who absolutely hated corruption. Then, in 1898, his legendary charge up San Juan Hill with the Rough Riders, well, that made him a household name, a genuine American hero. His fame landed him the vice presidency. And then, in 1901, tragedy strikes. President McKinley is assassinated, and suddenly at just 42 years old, Theodore Roosevelt is the youngest president in American history.
So he walks into the White House, and he is unlike any president they had ever seen. He didn't see the presidency as some quiet, passive job. Oh no, he saw it as a tool, a weapon even, for bold leadership. And his first target? The absolute titans of industry.
Now, to get the scale of the fight he was picking, you have to understand what an industrial trust was back then. Don't just think of a big company, think bigger. We're talking about colossal monopolies that had a chokehold on the entire country. The railroads, the oil, the steel, they could set any price they wanted, crush any small business that got in their way, and they had so much power in Washington, they were basically a second government.
And Roosevelt, he looked at all this concentrated power and saw it as a direct threat to democracy itself. He believed that the government, the people's government, had to be the most powerful force in the room, not some corporation. So he decided it was time to act.
And this is how he got that amazing nickname, the Trust Buster. He did something that was just unthinkable at the time. He used the full power of the federal government to take these giants to court and systematically break up their monopolies. For the average American, he was a hero. For the powerful guys in the boardrooms, he was public enemy number one.
But Roosevelt's vision wasn't just stuck at home. He believed America's new strength needed to be felt all over the world. And in the process, he completely changed the country's role on the global stage.
This single quote is his entire foreign policy in a nutshell. It's so simple, but so powerful, right? The idea is, be diplomatic, be willing to talk and negotiate, but always, always have overwhelming strength ready to go. You don't make a lot of noisy threats, you just make sure everyone knows you are not to be messed with.
And you know what? It totally worked. Under Roosevelt, America wasn't some sideline country anymore. It stepped up as a major global player. He even helped negotiate the end of the Russo-Japanese War, which actually earned him the Nobel Peace Prize. He proved America could be a real force for stability in the world. But if you want the #1 example of his big stick thinking, look no further than the Panama Canal. Negotiations for the land stalled, so what did Roosevelt do? He didn't wait. He supported a Panamanian independence movement, got the land, and started digging. It was a monumental, decade-long engineering feat, literally carving a path through a continent. And the impact? It created a new superhighway for global trade and projected American power across 2 oceans. It changed the world. So, let's zoom out a bit. You take the trust-busting, the foreign policy, that sheer force of personality. What's the lasting legacy here? How did this one man change America for good?
Well, the change is just staggering. Before Teddy Roosevelt, the presidency was often a much quieter, more administrative job. Presidents kind of followed the lead of Congress. But after TR, everything was different. The presidency became the powerful center of leadership we see today. The White House became the engine driving the whole country forward. He completely redefined the job.
And his impact goes even further than that. He was a passionate naturalist, a real outdoorsman, and way before it was a popular thing, he championed conservation. He created national parks, protected millions and millions of acres of forests and wildlands. So many of the beautiful natural landscapes we have in America today are here because of his foresight.
It's really just an unbelievable story when you think about it. The whole arc of his life is proof that sheer determination can absolutely change your destiny. He literally willed himself into becoming the man who could will a nation into a brand new era.
And that brings us right back to where we started, to that big question. Roosevelt showed the incredible amount of good a powerful, determined leader can accomplish, no question. But his story leaves us with a question that's just as important today as it was 100 years ago. How much power is too much for any one person to have?